Today's video is brought to you by Yolopark. Use my affiliate link down below to go check out awesome model kits for Transformers, anime, and others. And if you use the code SOUNDOUT at checkout, you get 5% off of your order. Thank you to Yolopark for sponsoring this video. It's morphin' time! Hello, this is Soundout here, and today we're taking a look at the Yolopark AMK Pro Series Karis, Otoha Karis Regenerate Model Kit. So Yolopark is a company that does model kits. They, I think, became most famous through their Transformers model kits, where they started producing Transformers characters without transforming, which made them more accurate to the movies and shows they're based on. I have not personally handled any Yolopark stuff before this, and I'm very thankful to Yolopark for sending this out for me to review, because I absolutely love Karis, the anime, and I love the character in the Tatsunoko vs. Capcom video game. And I was really excited when they announced that they were doing Regenerate Karis, because Storm Collectibles did a Karis figure, which I did do a separate review on, and that was based on the first form of Karis from the anime, whereas this is the second form with the gold accents and the cape and all the extra cool stuff. So I am very excited to take a look at this. Also, the AMK Pro Series have a lot of fancy features to them, which I'm really, really excited. So I haven't opened this up yet because I thought it'd be kind of fun, because, you know, they are listed as model kits, but, you know, in terms of model kit, it's not like, you know, a box of runners like you might expect. It also requires some batteries, which is also very exciting. So this was brand new. Let's take a look. I'm going to crack the plastic if I can. Can I crack the plastic with my bare hands? Who knows? Maybe I can. There we go. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm excited to see another action figure Karis. I don't know what caused this Karis renaissance within toy companies, because we went from having like essentially no action figures, like there were some statues and some vinyl kits, to now we have yet another awesome Karis, and there is some tape covering that seal. So this is pretty cool. It's nice to get more merchandise from Tatsunoko's big anniversary project. I feel like it was the last big anniversary project that wasn't just, oh, and now we're going to bring back all the old characters. Like, it was the last time that Tatsunoko really was like, let's make a brand new character. Okay, so here we have the layout. Basically what I've seen of other AMK Pro series, which is that you get everything in trays. It's officially a model kit, but the put together process is essentially straightforward. And this looks even more straightforward than some of the Transformers kits, for example. Of course, it does come with a booklet and a little card for the Yolopark shop. But you can see AMK Pro, and then it's got all the accessories or all the parts laid out here, which also shows how to install them, including the LED lights in the head, which is super cool. So it's got the full instructions here. Of course, we'll go over all of this. This isn't just open the box type video. I'm going to go through, put this guy together, and let's see how it goes. Actually, in fact, I'm going to set this up for filming, because I think this should be a pretty straightforward process. All right, so I don't know if this is going to need any heat finesse, you know, like a little hair dryer, that kind of situation. But it looks like most of these things are ball joints and pin joints, so this should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to run a clock as I work on this. I'm going to install the head last because I need to go get a battery for it. But I think we're just going to, I'm going to kind of just do this. You know, the instruction book is off to the side, but I'm going to kind of do this on my own way, because I think this looks pretty straightforward. You can just kind of build it without really needing to look at the instructions, which is pretty cool. So let's begin. I'm going to start with the feet here at the bottom and see where we can go, because it seems pretty straightforward overall. All right, yeah, so that seal's pretty easy to put together. I find it mostly because it's a little tight, but I think that's just because of the plastic going together. It is a little tricky. That part needs to go in together. Let's see here. Yeah, see, like you got like parts that slide over other parts. It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, some other figures when they pop apart. And then I'm like, oh, this is just how action figures are assembled. This doesn't really feel like a traditional model kit, which is kind of cool. Look at that. We already got the leg done. So yeah, it's just kind of just put the pieces together and make sure you got them on the correct side. And everything is labeled really well. You can see, like, it says like R on this side, so you know it's the right side of the figure. So let's just keep going. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing that the hips have a lot of range already, which is really, really nice to see. Because that's the tricky part with Karis, is the design to make it still posable when you make him, because he's got a lot of clanging armor bits that can get in the way of each other. Since he was an animated production and he was CGI, so they didn't really think about that too deeply. Is this the only piece that goes on here? Let me double check. Yep, that goes straight there. So I'm just gonna pop that on. It's a ball joint. There we go. Nice and well. All right, so then this will go kind of floating on top. So let's get to the torso. I think it'll be easier if we pop this on. Yep, there we go. And then we can just pop this in the middle. That is going incredibly well. I'm actually really impressed, because this seemed like it might have been one of those things that would have been like a pain in the butt. Actually, let's assemble the rest of the arm first, so I have a little bit more to grip, because I have a feeling that the final connections will be a little tricky. And I'm also saying this like, oh, let me make sure I have a part to grip, and it's got like giant spikes on the outside. But I think this should be pretty easy to just line up and pop on to this joint, because it looks like, yeah, it's like a predetermined ball joint, so it should just pop right on. Oh, that's not going on so easy. That might need some heat therapy. Yeah, it's not really popping on super easy, so I will hit that with some heat. But let's get a hand on it at least. I think the hands are easier to swap. That's the tricky part of ball joints on plastic, is they can shrink up a little bit. So sometimes you want to finesse it. I'm trying to ham-hand it on a video. It's not quite going on super easy. So yeah, oh, there we go. Actually, there we go. All right, cool. Let's get the other arm together here. Yeah, it's kind of always the trick when you have a figure like this too, is how do you make sure the spikes don't kill you? All right. So now all we got left is for the main parts. These are all extra accessories. You got the head and the arms. Can we get the head and arms on without needing a little bit of heat? I have a feeling I'm going to need a little bit of heat just to loosen it up enough so it pops on without me worrying about breaking something. Because, yep, that's definitely... it's also moving around because the neck has a ton of range. It's going to go on, but I think I'm going to go pop the rest of this on with a little... I'm just going to put a little, like, low-level heat. Something popped off here. Oh, there's a little spike. There's a little spike on the inside that I need to put back in. Anyways, I'm going to go finish this up, but approximately, without heat therapy, I got most of it done in 4 minutes and 20 seconds, which is honestly pretty quick. All right, here's our fully assembled Otoha Karis, and it is looking real sharp. Speaking of sharp, I do want to mention, because it happened while I was putting together on camera, if you can notice, like way in here, there is a spike. It's so hard to see, but there's a spike between the shoulder pads. This is an insane attention to detail. There's a second spike. I knocked it out while I was putting the figure together on camera because I'm reaching around the camera. And it was glued in, and I'm going to glue it back in once I'm done with the video. But with the shoulder pads and all that, and I'm trying to do the review, I'm not going to re-glue it back in. But if you do get this figure, I would be aware of that little spike. It popped out. Luckily, I didn't lose it. I'm going to put it in the tray so it doesn't disappear. That's something to be aware of. And like I said, a little heat therapy was all the trick that needed on these arms. So what I ended up doing was I just ran the hairdryer on this for, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. Then I lined up the shoulder like this, moved the shoulder pad out of the way, and then just pushed and kind of twist and popped it on. So it was a ball joint, nice and easy. You can see I did scratch myself in this process. This is not a, it's not a toy. It's a model kit action figure. So that's how that went on both arms. And then for the head, I just heated up the neck and then popped in place. Also, there is the light up gimmick, which you can see you pull this off to do. So be careful when attaching the head so you don't mess up the light up gimmick. It's actually pretty easy to not mess up because it's just that. But we'll look at that in a little bit when we go over more of the features. But as is, he is beautiful. This is really one of the best looking Karis figures because there's not many, like I said, but I do love the Regenerate look because you have the gold accent lines everywhere from when he came back and he had his new powered up form from the end of the series. You can kind of see like there's this really cool asymmetric design going on that's from the original, where you got like the crow tail and the crow head. So, you know, Karis is a crow. And then you got like this such a cool detail with the accents down here for the line work, which I think is awesome. Like, the fact that this is like officially a model kit blows my mind, because as assembled, as a completed figure, this feels like just a standard, you know, pre-built action figure. And in a lot of ways it kind of is, but you know, you do have to put a little assembly work into it, but it doesn't feel like a model kit. He's got some heft to him. He's actually like weighty. There's some weight. He feels sturdy. I'm really digging it. It is really nice. That's the only model kitty things that could happen, which was that this piece slid down a little bit, and then, yeah, it caused his arm to pop off. That is not as big of an issue as it might seem. There is always the law of once you stick it on camera, things don't want to stay. But once you get that on, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, I just didn't have it on all the way. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. This is looking nice. So, of course, we need to go over the articulation. I'm going to be very careful because it is still a model kit. It's not, you know, traditional action figure, but he's got a double ball joint barbell, top and bottom of the neck. The bottom of the neck does move, and I'm not going to try to move it because he's got a lot going on there. Shoulders move up. The shoulder pads are fully articulated. You got a, forward. It's kind of tight. You know, you can kind of hear, I don't know if you can hear it, but it is sort of squeaky. But it holds the joint well. And then this part ball joints, but of course it does pop off from the model kit nature. You got a double joint elbow, which works significantly well. And then you got kind of your standard high-end wrist joint, which is that it's a ball joint, it rotates, and then it also moves in and out. And you can move the position around. For the torso, he can crunch very far forward and pretty good back. He's also got some side to side. You also got a nice waist turn right there at the belt, so it's nice and clean. Now hips, this is always the tricky part with Karis. Yep, hips move out. You can see that this is flexible, so it does move. Hips move forward and back. It also has a thigh swivel, which is nice, and then a double jointed knee that moves pretty good as well. And then a forward and back pivot, left and right, and then you got an ankle, or a toe joint. Sorry, that was the ankle. That's the toe. Pretty awesome. I really like the way he feels. This is a nice figure. And it's kind of fun I got to put it together. But, you know, it doesn't, like, once you have it like this, you'd be hard pressed to figure out it was actually a model kit the entire time. Also notice this after filming the articulation segment, you can actually extend out the torso so you can get a further bend and go super crazy, which I think is really cool. Do a couple quick size comparisons here. Here is a standard size Marvel Legend with Cyclops. So you can see he is still kind of a larger size. This is, I guess, 1/10 scale. Closer to 1/10 scale than 1/12, which Cyclops is a little tall for 1/12, but you can kind of get the idea there, just so you have, like, here's your standard 6-inch action figure. He is a lot bigger than that. He's not meant to be that scale. Of course, the comparison that I'm sure a lot of people clicked on the video to find was the Storm Collectibles one. So here is Storm's Karis, which was his first form, and here's the Yolopark Karis Regenerate, which is the second form. They're about the same size. They're in the same scale range, which is awesome. This is kind of, I think, the range that Yolopark usually works in, and that's the range that Storm Collectibles usually works in. And wow, that looks incredible. They're about the same size. So if you're somebody that has the Storm Collectibles, definitely pick up the Yolopark so you can have the alternate form, but it's going to go on your display quite well, which I think is really, really cool. It's also neat to see the design differences between the two different armors, right? You can see that all of the colors here are more black and gray for the early part of the series, but later on when you got the gold, it's just accenting what was already there. In a lot of ways, I'm really glad that Yolopark just went and did the Regenerate version first, because it's so much more striking from a color scheme perspective. So now let's get into the accessories. So with Karis, he does have a sword that clips to his back, and of course he does come with it. Let's see how easy it is to get on. Oh, that's nice. The Storm Collectibles one, it's a real pain in the butt to get the sword on the back. That goes super, super easy. You can see that. That looks stellar. Oh, man. That is so nice. Because that's kind of like, you just, as you can see, I didn't even test this first. I was just like, let's just test this on camera. Yeah, twist, boom. And it's not really, yeah, it's going to come out if you grab onto it like a dummy like me. But once it's on there, it's going to stay, which is really, really cool to see. Alternatively, you can have the shorter version, which is kind of nicer because, it's sort of one of the cool things about Karis's design is he does have his sheath shrink, which allows him to be more mobile. So that clips into the back really nice and easy, which is really, really cool to have that. I think that's awesome. All right, so let's see. Let's take a look at the sword. Here's the sword itself. Comes out of the sheath. Does it just slide into the hand nice and easy? I'd be a little careful with the gold tip there, but yeah, that was, wow, surprisingly easy to put the sword in the hand. That is, it looked like a tight grip, and it is a tight grip, but that holds quite well, actually, which I really, really like. Does it also go into the other hand? Yeah, it's going to go into the other hand. You just got to do the exact same thing, get it in, nice and easy. So he also comes with the alternate sword, the big Buster sword with all the gold accents and the red, which looks really fantastic as well. And it slides into the hand. The handle size is exactly the same, so it just makes it nice and easy. But let's look at his other hand options. So he does have matching sets of hands for both left and right. So we've got this one, which is kind of like a nice, grippy battle hand like that, which is pretty cool. Also wanted to point to his balance, because Karis does do a lot of acrobatic poses, so I wanted to see if he could pose nice and neat, which he does. He actually really balances out nice. So of course we've got the two-finger ninja hand, and yeah, once again, balances nicely. You want a Karis that can do stuff like this, which I'm really glad he can. But yeah, the two-finger ninja hand, very Tatsunoko versus Capcom for those that played that game, where Karis was playable. He was my absolute favorite character in that game. I was like, this guy is so cool, and all of his movesets were awesome. Especially when you could pull him off correctly, because a lot of his stuff was parries and counters. But anyways, the cool part is that he's got the two-finger ninja hands, which once again, matching set, which is nice to see. All right, those last hand sets, we have these nice relaxed hands for all kinds of different options, and then we've got a pair of fists. And I like the hand options. It's got a lot of stuff. You can do pretty much everything you want. My only thing is, because of the design of the hands, I don't know if you can see all the indentations in my thumb. Yeah, just take some care, because every single one of these has spiky knuckles, because that's the design of Karis. It didn't puncture any skin, but it wasn't really, like, comfortable. This is no fault of the figure. This is entirely on Karis's design. Also, just be careful of these spikes as well. I don't really have a super good technique, but I will say I like how thick the wrist joints are, because I have seen some figures on other companies that are thinner, and then I'd be worried about snapping the wrist peg when they're a little tight to get on. But once they're on, they don't go anywhere, and they hold pretty well, and on top of that, they're just really thick. So I'm not worried about snapping them off, which is also really good. So for his last accessory, which is the big cape, which is awesome. I don't know what it was in 2005. This and Garo were like, the power-up shall be a cape. But this is the cape piece. It's one solid piece of plastic, which is, honestly looks pretty good. It is not going to be very posable, but it will do the job. You can see there's a slat here, because that'll go into the back here. You want to remove the head. I pre-popped the head, so this will be a little bit easier on camera. And then we're just going to line this up over the shoulders, and then it should be able to slot in to the sheath holster on the back. And then you can pop the head on. Now, the instructions do show that you should get the feathers underneath the collar, and then pop the head on that way. I'm going to, I'm kind of looking at it. You can't really do it with the feathers out. So it's going to take a little bit of positioning, which I'll do behind the camera so I don't mess anything up. And there we have it, Karis in his cape. It actually was a lot easier to do this than I thought. So I popped the head down, and then I pushed the feathers in, made sure they're under, also the back feathers, made sure that all lined up, and then just popped the head on. And now look at that, isn't that beautiful? I think that's awesome. It would have been nice to have, some articulating cape, but, for officially a model kit, this works. And he doesn't do a ton of action with the cape on, but he does hold the sheath. And this kind of action grippy hand is actually perfect for holding the sword in the sheath. You can just pop it in, boom. Look at that, you can have him like ready to go. You can have it like that. You could pose it kind of like the box shot where he's got it kind of gripped, because you can't hold it on the back of his back anymore because he's got the cape in the way. So there you go. There is our Karis with the cape. I think the cape looks nice. I think the cape really does add a whole lot to his overall look. It definitely adds to the cool factor. And cool factor points are always appreciated. So Karis's head features a light up gimmick, and that allows you to light his eyes up. The way this works is you pull the top part of the head off like this, and then you can see there is a little device in here. And this is, of course, the LEDs. The battery, which I have inserted, is a very specific type of battery. It is a CR927, a 3-volt button cell lithium cell battery. So I found those on Amazon to do the installation here. They're not really commonly available in the US where I live, so you got to kind of like search for them. But it's a CR927 or equivalent battery, but it's a 3-volt battery because you got a lot of cool light gimmicks. Now the way the actual eyes light up is really awesome because instead of having a switch that's tricky to reach, the back of the shortened sheath has a magnet on it, and then you put that up to his mouth and it'll cause the eyes to turn on. And so it actually glows pretty bright because there's a 3-volt battery in there. Most button cells are 1.5 volts. So you can see how well, even with my big old studio lights on, you can still see the eyes light up. And then if you tap it again, it will do a blinking eye light, which I think is cool looking. It's a little spooky, so scary. And then you do it one more time and you have a slowly turn on and then slowly turn off. And it'll just kind of pulse his eyes on the display there. And then tap it one more time and it turns off. I'm going to shut the big studio lights off so we can see how bright this goes. So with the normal lights off, there you go. What I like about this is that the plastic around the head is solid enough that the eyes aren't causing like bleed through. There's like a little bit there because there's like a little spot of paint that wasn't quite applied on my copy, but other than that, pretty good. Let's see the blinking. There's the blinking. And then lastly, the pulsing. So I think that looks really, really nice. I do like how it is strong enough that you can see it without, there's the full glow without the top of the head. But I like that you can see it with your lights on, so it's not something you can only see exclusively in the dark. And I think that's really, really cool. So in final conclusion, as we say in these reviews, should you buy this? I think if you're a fan of Karis, you'll be pretty satisfied by this. I think that it's kind of the full package. You got the swords, you've got the cape, you've got the extra hands, the posability is definitely there. The light up eyes are a really nice touch. And it doesn't feel like a model kit so much as it feels like a high-end action figure that comes in pieces. And I've had some high-end action figures go to pieces when they come pre-assembled, so I'm pretty happy with this. Overall quality feels pretty solid, and the only thing I really have a problem with is the spikiness makes it really hard to kind of swap hands in succession, and it did take a little bit of heat just to get the arms and heads attached, but once I did that, it was pretty smooth overall. And I'm not just saying this because I sent it to me. I genuinely think this is a solid release. And if you're a Karis fan, I don't really think you can do much better than this. This is really, really good. If you want to get a Karis of your own or anything else cool from Yolopark, be sure to use my affiliate link in the description and use the coupon code SOUNDOUT at checkout to get 5% off. Thanks again to Yolopark for sponsoring this video. This was a really fun first-time experience with one of their model kits. If you wish to keep up with future videos on this channel, be sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell. Also hit the like button while you're down there if you enjoyed this review. If you so wish, I'm on social media at Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can also find my wonderful graphic designer on social media at DarkClaw643, and you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for toy reviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.